Good evening, everyone. I'd like to invite everyone to the special board meeting of the Winnipeg School Division for Monday, March 8th, 2021. Before we begin tonight's meeting, I'm going to remind everyone to turn off their cell phones and any electronic devices they may have. I would like to state that this Winnipeg School Board meeting is taking place on Treaty 1 land and the homeland of the Métis Nation. Call to order and roll call. Mr. Cochin, please proceed with the roll call.
Roll call for the special board meeting of Winnipeg School Division for March 8th, 2021. Trustee Liddell.
Here.
Trustee Reed. I see your hand, so I assume that's okay. So, Trustee Murdoch.
Here.
Trustee Dumont.
Here.
Trustee Shetkowski.
Here.
Trustee Chen.
Here.
Trustee Broughton.
I am here as well.
I apologize.
Okay. Number 2, approval of the agenda, moved by Trustee Broughton, seconded by Trustee Chen, that the agenda be approved. All those in favor, please turn your cameras on so I can see you. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Business matters as defined in Rule 44.7, moved by Trustee Dumont, seconded by Trustee Shetkowski, that the board move into business matters as defined in Rule 44.7, carried.
Sorry, I was on mute. All right, Madam Chair, I would like to report on the following. The members of the board discussed collective bargaining. Also, I move that the budget of the Winnipeg School Division, showing estimated expenditures of $421,039,400 for the fiscal period July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2022, be adopted, and that in accordance with Section 187 of the Public Schools Act, the City of Winnipeg be required to raise by special levy for the calendar year ending December 31st, 2021, the total sum of $197,069,200.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder, please? Trustee Reed. Discussion. I'm going to make a list. Trustee Broughton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This has been a struggle for us as a board this year, and it's been a struggle for our community. And in all reality, these are going to be the ongoing struggles that we're going to have in the years to come. Passing a budget is in many ways an exercise in dollars and cents, but it's also an exercise in a values statement that we as a board, the leaders of this organization, hold certain things to be dear to us and prioritize where this organization is going, not only for the year ahead, but in many ways for many years to come. And normally, it's a value statement of the Winnipeg School Division when we pass a budget of the Winnipeg School Division. Unfortunately, this year, more than any other year, this is a value statement of the Palliser government and its austerity measures. Today we discussed some serious and difficult cuts to the Winnipeg School Division that are going to be felt by many. But at the end of the day, we as an organization, we as a board are prioritizing investing in the classroom. While the Palliser government will misrepresent the truth, to the community in the media and in its statements about a bloated bureaucracy in Manitoba's education, nothing could be further from the truth. We spend very little on our administration and administering within the Winnipeg School Division. It is quite frustrating, actually, that such mistruths would be spoken regularly and with no regard for the true harm that such misrepresentations and fake news are causing to the community. Because there's people that actually believe that we have a bloated bureaucracy, but nothing could be further from the truth. So when this government has chosen to underfund education, we've been forced to make some serious and drastic cuts. And nearly $5 million is what's being cut from our budget here today as a part of this process. And I don't think any one of us enjoys it, likes it in any way, or really wants to vote in favor of this. I think very much so that myself and many of my colleagues don't want to vote in favor of this, but we're forced into a corner by this provincial government. We have to pass a balanced budget, and then this is the only way that we can do that. Today, we're signaling that we're no longer going to be investing in police officers in schools and community policing. Now, we're saying that we value teachers in classrooms more than police officers in classrooms, but that's not necessarily our ideal. We're saying today that investing in milk for our students is no longer something that we can afford. And that is a direct result of this provincial government. Our teachers, our staff, already spend their own dollars to make classrooms engaging and exciting to learn in. And today we're cutting over $1 million in non-salary school budgets that's going to impact the books and supplies and furniture that our teachers need to make our classrooms as effective and engaging an environment as possible for truly world-class and truly valuable learning to occur. And it's these kind of cuts that I'm so disappointed to have to enact, but is a direct result of the Palliser government imposing its austerity on the education system. A government that's so concerned about the economy is destroying the economy of the future by not giving the education system the resources it needs to create the workers, the entrepreneurs, the scientists, doctors, and nurses of the future, the tools they need for an effective education. And so I will be reluctantly supporting this budget because by law, we must pass a budget, and we must pass a budget right away. But it is with sincere and significant reservations that I will be voting in favor of this budget, mainly because of the severe austerity that we're experiencing today. And I caution our community that this isn't over yet, that in the months and even in the year ahead, that we could be considering even more significant cuts because of the ongoing failure to fund education by this government and this government's love of austerity.
Thank you, Trustee Broughton. Trustee Chen, you wanted to speak?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Over the past month, the WSD board has made a strong effort to hold as many district advisory meetings, parent council meetings, and WSD public consultations. And I believe hearing from the public, gathering their stories, and being part of the consultation processes are key to determining our school budgets for the year ahead of us. I have also had many discussions with families, staff, community organizations, and committee leaders about their views and concerns. Based on these discussions, I have a few concerns about the proposed funding reduction and cuts. Regarding the SROs, we heard from delegations that the School Resource Officer program should not be cut as an austerity measure, but rather it should be removed because of the social and educational impact. We also received a letter telling us the key findings from other school boards that since the removal, there was a shift from punitive disciplinary practices, and instead, the most used interventions by schools were contacting the parent or guardian, guidance support, social work support, and restorative practices. Other school boards' data also showed that suspensions reduced 24% and expulsions dropped 53% compared to the school year that had SROs. I also want to point out the observation that in many of our decision-making structures, the voices of indigenous and newcomer and visible minority groups are often left out. These groups often cannot attend consultations or get involved with committees because of many structural barriers, including systemic barriers in our society. Reallocation of resources should be used to ensure that students who are most negatively impacted by poverty and other barriers, including systemic racism, are being supported. I am opposed to cutting adult crossing guards. In the past few years, we have seen tragedies happen in the WSD and other school divisions in Winnipeg. Louisville School Division increased the number of adult crossing guards after the death of an 8-year-old boy who was on his way to school in 2018. In 2019, a 4-year-old newcomer girl was hit and killed by a car near Dufferin School on Isabel Street, a busy street with cars often in high speed. The mother was seriously injured, left a heartbroken family and community. 2 young children were both from the newcomer community. There are a lot of busy streets in Ward 6. Families and young children, especially from vulnerable communities, will be more affected by the reduction. We must do everything we can to keep our kids safe on the way to and from school. I have concerns about the proposed to cut transportation. We do not know or understand the impact the reductions in hours will have on families and our students. The only way to understand that is, I think, through the public consultation process. I am not comfortable reducing funding to a program without knowing what the impact will be for families. Proposed cuts will affect, on school budget will affect our inner city communities the most. Cutting this budget will hurt the schools and families, in Ward 6 in particular. Many families in Ward 6 already cannot afford school supplies and rely on support from their teachers and schools. This isn't as easy as simply reducing school budgets. It is also reducing families' access to resources. I have also heard concerns about what these cuts could have on vocational schools, like TechVoc, where these budgets support vocational programs like carpentry and other innovative programs that give unique skills to our students. This year, we face extremely difficult budget time. We see reduction in public school funding for WSD from the province. We know that the Manitoba government passed Unconstitutional Bill 28, Public Services Sustainability Act. The act was ruled by the court as unconstitutional and is a violation of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms and the workers' right to collective bargaining. The province put school divisions in jeopardy, and ultimately students, parents and guardians and communities are affected. However, we see the interference from the Pallister government continues in a mandate form. The Pallister government needs to stop interfering with collective bargaining. School division workers are now facing the additional challenges of the pandemic. Additionally, with the government's inability to maintain school funding and their restricting our ability to raise our own funds, the provincial government is putting us in a terrible position. We know this budget is being imposed on us by provincial government that is unwilling to properly fund our schools. They have an agenda of austerity and are trying to force us as school trustees to make their cuts for them. We know there will be impact on our communities. I speak to families every day, and I am a parent myself, and I want the strongest, most robust education system for our children. So I would ask the Minister of Education what he would cut with the reducing funds. I would cut the province's interference in our education system. I also want to acknowledge our Winnipeg School Division school bus drivers who have already faced the province's austerity budget, but who stood up and fought back. We should take that spirit and continue to let our community know that education funding cuts hurt our kids, they hurt our staff, and they hurt our communities. So for all these reasons, I'm going to vote against the budget.
Thank you, Trustee Chen. Trustee Reed?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I, too, echo Trustee Broughton's statement. This government has forced our hand. I am reluctantly going to agree to pass this budget, but in no means am I happy. We consulted with our public. We consulted with the communities. They are not going to be happy. The schools are the future, and this provincial government does not seem to see that. They have their own agenda to balance their budget at the expense of the future. As Trustee Broughton said, or if it was Trustee Chen, these are the future. These are the children that are going to be the doctors, the nurses, the teachers in the future, and we need to support them as much as we can. And this government is not doing that. As I said, I'm going to agree to this budget, but again, I am not happy.
Thank you, Trustee Reed. Trustee Dumont?
Thank you, Chair. I won't spend a lot of time echoing, I think, what a lot of my colleagues here around the board have been saying. I also reluctantly support this budget. This whole process has been one that has been difficult. And I want to acknowledge and thank all the members of the community for the time they invested in coming out in our consultation process, whether it was district advisory councils or many parent council meetings, to let us know how they felt about the proposed reductions. Ultimately, in all of those meetings, we talked about this exercise being something that really cuts to the heart of what the Winnipeg School Division community values. When we look at reductions, we are looking at programs that are ultimately funded by the Winnipeg School Division through a mandate given to them by their community that we consult on every year. And it speaks to the values of the Winnipeg School Division community on prioritizing things such as inclusion, that these things are important and they should be funded and provided through the schools. Unfortunately, we have been backed into that corner. The Pallister government has put us in a position where we are not able to raise any funds. and they continue to chronically underfund our education system. So I really want families to know who's making these cuts. I don't think anybody around this table or in our school communities wanted to see reductions and would have liked to have seen properly funded education system instead, but that's not where we are today. So I will be voting for this budget, but reluctantly so, as my colleagues do. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Demont. Trustee Shikowski?
I too will vote for this budget, but I'm reluctant about it. To my members in my committee that have reached out, I personally feel that I have let you down, but it's not me or the rest of the board. It is our provincial government. But believe me when I say this, I am going to fight for the next budget, starting now. And one of those things on the budget that I feel very strongly, and what I heard from you in my area, my ward, and that is the SRO program. But remember, no matter where we cut or what we take away, not because we want to, but what we had no choice, it's going to hurt whoever is involved in that process. As a community, as a board, and as the administration, we must all continue to fight for our kids. As Trustee Reid said, these are our future. They are going to be our leaders. And we have to believe in tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Shinkowski. Trustee Murdoch?
So I echo a lot of what's already been said. So I won't try to repeat everything, but I definitely echo the fact that we've been backed into an extreme corner where we really are faced with having to make these cuts despite not wanting to. And as everyone has been saying, nobody is happy with the budget. To echo Trustee Chen, I agree with like pretty much everything there, and that you had said earlier, and it's a struggle. To echo Trustee Demont, that this really doesn't feel like it embraces our values. So I am very reluctantly also voting for this motion, but it's with reluctance. And Trustee Shikowski is to echo what you said too. This is the future of our children, and so we should be having adequate funding and adequate resources and adequate programming in place for them to become the next generation of leaders that we want them to be. So.
Thank you, Trustee Murdoch. So I want to express gratitude for the staff at the Winnipeg School Division who worked very hard on preparing these budgets and supporting us when we had questions about how we got here and how we could change things. I want to thank all of the community members who came to talk to us in person and who sent many different emails and spoke from their hearts and spoke with passion. This year has been particularly hard because this whole year has really shown the inequity in society. And so it was more troubling when we had to look at a budget and know that we would be impacting the equity of people and having access to supports in that. I feel like it's just been one layer upon another for people who are struggling in poverty and just trying to figure out how to get their children to school and how to help them have a better life than their life. And so I will be voting for this budget, but I think there needs to come a point when the levels of government, the city included, and how do we develop partnerships so we can save money there. Certainly the province, to get out of this a penny wise and a pound foolish mentality. We all will pay for this. I mean, this pandemic will impact our children for years to come. It's unfortunate that we couldn't have prepared a budget that would have offset a bit of that what will be coming at our young people in the future. So I will be supporting this budget, but it's just very unfortunate that we're not all working on this together and realizing that we have to put the money in our children and try to create a sense of evening out the equity and having equality. So thank you. So I'm going to call for the motion now. The motion was called and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. So there was a motion by Trustee Reed that the meeting adjourn. Thank you.